Hello everyone. Well, we are through week 2. I'm using Screencast-O-Matic to make this video, which you might find helpful. You can search for it online and it is free to use. Although it takes much more time, I've also produced a transcript to do this because it makes production of the video easier and more accurate. The transcript is posted with the video and in the discussion forum labeled Lesson Summary Comments. In order to avoid producing a lengthy video here, I will move as quickly as possible. We will examine the collect function in the discussion forums, in case you're not familiar with that, peer-led versus instructor-led discussions, the idea of being a monitor versus an expert in the online class, and finally the issue of expectations. First, let's look at one of the discussion forums for this week in order to score the postings. I will go to the forum and use the collect function to gather the things I need to review. You'll notice that I have split the class into groups for answering these questions because it is much too difficult for anyone to go in and assess every single thing that a student posts in every discussion. So you see the group breakdowns right there. So in our case, we have 3 to 4 people assigned to a group. In a discussion forum labeled number 2B, Link, Peter, and Mark are asked to post answers, and you notice that everyone else is asked to do at least 2 replies. So there's discussion forum 2B right there. The good news is that after week 2, we will ask everyone just to post 1 reply in a discussion forum, since I think we've made the point about replies. In my online classes, I always have my undergraduate students do 2 replies. They complain about that, but I believe it's the only way to ensure that they stay engaged in the course. So as we enter the forum, I will select the messages that I know are relevant to this week. So we've got Peter, Aisha's there, Ravi, Mark. And now I'm going to hit the collect function after having selected those threads. Within the collect function, there is a filter option with a drop-down menu to look at a particular student's answers. So there's the filter, and then the drop-down function. So in this case, I'll pick Peter since he's right at the top and all of his postings will pop up then once I hit go. At that point, I can scan through what he's posted and give him the appropriate credit. Then I do the same for everyone required to answer a discussion question, after which I return to that discussion forum and I look at all the answers that are posted there and check the list and confirm that everyone has done their 2 replies required for that time. Now I'm going to show you a view of the way I track scores when I do that process. So this is simply a picture of the roster on my desk. And what I'm doing is I'm just going down the list of things in Blackboard and checking off to ensure that they're done. I don't have any scores posted there just for privacy reasons. But I quickly, give a score to a discussion answer that gets posted, and then I just check off whether or not they've done a reply. I find it much easier to quickly score on a paper roster and input the grades later. Blackboard has the capability to score directly through an assignment, but this has slowed me down when I've tried it. I can usually score a week's worth of discussions, often 4 forums and 25 students, in less than an hour. Regarding the number of discussion forums, we don't have time to assess hundreds of postings, so the Online Learning Consortium recommends the use of peer-led versus instructor-led discussion forums. In a peer-led forum, you tell your students that you will not necessarily be active in that forum, but you will score the interaction. In faculty-led forums, you engage by posting replies to the students. This approach significantly cuts your workload while clarifying student expectations of your presence in the course. Next, are we simply monitors in the online classroom? And that was one of our other discussion questions for week 2. Susan Koh's intent was not to offend the sensibilities of faculty. In the larger context of online learning and teaching, I believe she is saying that the expertise must be built into the course up front. The course must stand on its own, and that's what differentiates it from the in-class traditional classroom. It does not mean that we do not engage and lend our expertise, but simply that we offer everything up front without planning to supplement later, like we can do on our feet in the traditional classroom. Also think about it this way. It's Saturday morning, and I'm going through Blackboard, assessing, moving things around, updating, etc. I'm not doing much teaching at this point. However, throughout the week, I was engaged in the discussions and replied with content-driven responses. So the reality is that we are performing different functions in the online environment, and if we fail to do so, the consequences are more severe than they would be in the classroom. We can recover in the classroom, but in an asynchronous environment, the students will not have the information they need if you are not on top of the monitoring process. Discussion 2A was about expectations. Now, as academicians interested in observation and inquiry, just take a step back from this and consider the kinds of responses that were offered to this issue. The responses are generally instructor-centric. They are all from the perspective of the instructor. Certainly we have expectations of students, but what about the students' expectations of us? Think back to the video which was posted on the announcement page for the first week. The instructor was missing in action and didn't communicate with students. One of the saddest comments that students have made on faculty evaluations is as follows. Quote, "The faculty member didn't matter in this course." End quote. I like to think I'm pretty thick-skinned, but even I might be shaken if someone told me I didn't matter. So this is a two-way street. Be sure to ask yourself if you have created a course environment that meets the student's expectations of flexibility. Is the student in your course able to complete your course with the kind of flexibility that online learning affords? That is why they've engaged in the online program to begin with. Unlike in the physical classroom, the online classroom is no longer about you. It's about the student. In a traditional classroom, you are the focal point of every lesson. In the online classroom, there's a medium between you and the student, which is the online learning platform and its structure. From the student's perspective, in an asynchronous situation, he or she is the only animate being there. Creating an online structure that unnecessarily forces a student into an undesirable position is likely to be counterproductive. Okay, one final thing to mention. There are 13 people in this class right now. As of this morning, there were 34 possible assignments to be scored to date. 13 of the 34 possible assignments were not completed, and most of those were simply the task to reply to what someone else posted as an answer. So again, ask yourself, if this is difficult for people with advanced and terminal degrees to complete a scheduled task, then how much more challenging is it for the students? Now, this could be attributable to poor course structure, poor communication, and so forth. Are our expectations and communication as clear as they need to be in order to achieve the goal? As you conduct your online work, continue to ask yourself, how is the student viewing me and my course? Thanks.